Hello, Warlocks. It is your turn for the 2020 exotic tier list. It's the same deal as Titans. If you haven't watched the Titan tier list or are unfamiliar, I'm going to give you a quick recap of the rules. The tier list is all about power in the highest level activities in the game. In PvE, that's master content, the dungeon, the raid, and any seasonal activities with a high power level requirement. These are not about favorites, these are not about what can work. The tier list is strictly about how strong exotics will make the average player in these activities. Let's start with some exotics from seasons past that I have not reviewed. Getaway Artist from Season of the Drifter. Eat your grenade to turn it into a supercharged arc soul, which fires shots at enemies. Also, shots that hit enemies will restore grenade energy, although that's not listed in the perk description. I think this exotic is hilarious, and it's a pretty fun novelty if you can get a grenade build rolling, especially in PvP, where you're getting what is essentially free damage. In high-end PvE, it's not the worst pick you can make. You know, the damage from it is actually not too bad and can help you slowly tickle down low-tier enemies, not to mention that if it deals enough damage, you can have this up and running almost the entire time that you're doing anything. However, it doesn't deal more damage than an Arc Soul that you would get from a normal Rift. The Rift Arc Soul is only 5 seconds shorter, but can be refreshed while the Rift is active, and you can give that Arc Soul to your entire team. If you really want to invest in Arc Souls, you can. It's not bad at all, but me personally, if I'm running a Master Nightfall, I'm probably just going to stick with Well. ASTROCYTE Verse launched in Season of Opulence, and it seems to be much better than its D1 counterpart. Blink further, more often, weapons ready quickly, and your radar stays up. This is the most you're going to get out of a blink-based exotic, and for what it aims to do, it does it well. Use of this exotic will solely depend on how much you think the blink movement experience is vital to your gameplay. It is a movement-based exotic, and I do not like to give ratings to movement-based exotics because they don't increase your power, they change or enhance a non-damage function. Launched in Shadowkeep, we have Storm Dancer's Brace. This is Storm Trance's version of a damage stacking exotic. Enemies killed with Storm Trance increase your Storm Trance damage. At 5 stacks, your damage is boosted pretty significantly, I want to say over 50%. However, Storm Trance is really about killing lots and lots of trash mobs and less about single target damage. It's never been great for single target. Trash mobs tend to die really easily anyway, thus I think negating the need for a damage boost. However, the more difficult the content, the better this damage boost becomes because of the higher health pools and higher damage resistance of the average trash mob. Even low tier enemies in master content are a threat, making Storm Dancer's Brace not that bad of a pick. The big negative with Storm Dancer's Brace versus Crown of Tempest is that it's only good during the super, whereas Crown is good all the time, including your super. I think Crown is absolutely better in stuff like Legend difficulty, seasonal content, even the raid, due to how much weaker enemies are compared to their master difficulty versions. For Crown in master content, chaining together ability kills is a lot tougher to do, although killing 3 trash mobs in your super to ramp up conduction times to 3 even still doesn't require that much effort, which then gives you much more time with your super. For me, in master content, it comes down to Storm Dancers only being good with a super, whereas Crown is good with a super and outside of it, even if outside of it, it's not getting a ton of use since most master enemies typically don't get one-shot by a grenade or melee from Stormcaller. Finally, from Season of Dawn, we have Prometheum Spur, which creates healing and empowering rifts combined when you kill a target with Daybreak at the location where the enemy died. This is an interesting novelty exotic, but one I don't foresee getting a ton of use unless a specific situation arises for it. The rifts last the standard 15 seconds, and while a combined effect is very potent, this is probably an exotic that I would swap to, gain its benefits, and then swap back. Considering the hardest activities in the game don't allow you to swap, that brings down its usefulness. I think a Well of Radiance will suffice in most situations. This exotic basically takes your Well of Radiance and breaks it up into a bunch of smaller wells that you can put almost wherever you want. This brings us to our best of rankings, where we'll take a look at the best subclass-specific exotics and neutral exotics in both PvE and PvP, starting with Voidwalker. For Voidwalkers, in PvE, you technically have 3 exotics. One of them is ASTROCYTE Verse, which is not rated. The other 2 are Skull of Dire Ahamkara and Contraverse Hold. NEZAREC'S is technically not Voidwalker only, just Voidwalker encouraged. Therefore, my pick is going to be Skull of Dire Ahamkara. Skull did get nerfed to not return nearly as much super energy as it used to, but I think the value you get from Skull is greater than the value from Contraverse Hold for most PvE activities. Supercharged grenades can be pretty good on top of the energy that you would get back from them, but I think Skull of Dire Ahamkara has global appeal as well, including master content, to a slightly higher degree. For Dawnblades in PvE, your overall exotic of choice is, again, dare I say, Sunbracers. Sunbracers combined with the revamped Top Tree Dawnblade is a grenade massacre. Consume a grenade for heat rises, get a melee kill, get infinite solar grenades for a few seconds, kills in the air replenish some of your melee energy, get a melee kill, repeat forever. Incredibly potent, but it does absolutely rely on being able to get a fair amount of kills to keep it going strong. Still though, very, very potent combo right there. Our other 2 choices are Phoenix Protocol and Wings of Sacred Dawn. Phoenix Protocol is basically a staple if you're using Well of Radiance, unless you want to opt for LUNAFACTION boots instead. Kind of depends on your group composition, both are great. Wings of Sacred Dawn are definitely more usable now with the rework and with their buff, which gives you damage reduction while in the air, but I don't really recommend being perfectly still in any PvE content that is actually threatening, buffed exotic or not. I'd rather use Sunbracers in master content anyway over Wings of Sacred Dawn. For Stormcallers in PvE for the 3rd time in a row, I believe it is Crown of Tempests. Crown has gotten a little competition with Stormdancer's Brace, as we mentioned earlier, but I think the all-around potency of Crown is just better. If you're running Chaos Reach, then sure, you can toss on the Geomags, it's totally fine, but Crown works with Middle Tree Stormcaller as well. It's not Storm Trance only or anything. Crown just does it all. Ability chaining and energy, super energy, you can come out of your super with a 3-stack as well. It does heavily rely on being able to get a lot of kills and chaining abilities together, making it amazing for solo play, maybe less so in group play, especially right now where people are competing for kills against each other. Again, it'll also struggle in activities where grenades and charged melees do not one-shot low-tier enemies like some master content. As for neutral exotics, despite the nerf to auto-reload effects now becoming faster reload effects, LUNAFACTION boots remain high on the list for me for group play that involves killing a boss. Not so much for solo. Along with Ophidian Aspect, Claws of Ahamkara, NEZAREC'S, and Verity's Brow. The neutral metagame has not really changed that much with the addition of the new exotics over the past year, because all of them are subclass specific. LUNAFACTION, while a fraction of its former self, still gives you a reload boost, which is always going to be good. Claws of Ahamkara maybe gets a slight boost due to Armor 2.0 and allowing you to have more build options, but exotics tend to be the build makers, the thing that you make your build around. Although there are some subclass branches that can purely benefit from an additional melee charge, like Top Tree Dawnblade. Ophidian Aspect is still globally useful, nothing really happened to it at all. Reload speed boosts and ready speed are always going to be good, but I do think that you can get more value out of other exotics for PvE specifically. NEZAREC'S continues to be a top exotic for energy regeneration. Some of the most powerful legendary weapons are Void, Recluse, Claws of the Wolf, Hammerhead, to name 3. It helps to run a Void subclass with it, but you don't have to. This is also not something like Crown of Tempest where you need to be on the ball with ability usage, because the buff comes from any Void kills. So there isn't that crazy urgency if your buff timer is running low, you can easily boot it back up again. The only struggle I have with this exotic is sometimes getting rapid kills to stack up said timer on the buff to make it easier to refresh and have constant energy. The fact that your timer starts so low means that it's tougher to get the bonus rolling in PvP, but you can proc it individually quite often. Verity's Brow gets us grenade energy in droves, with a buff that stacks up to 3 times, giving more energy per stack. The ability to refresh the buff does eventually have diminishing returns after a few kills, but that's not a huge deal in my opinion. As long as you're using a primary style weapon in the energy slot, like you should be doing for this and by extension NEZAREC'S, this is basically a constant stream of grenade energy, not only for you, but for your team. Stack Demolitionist on your gun for even more energy. You'll be getting constant Devour, Heat Rises, Divine Protection, Arc Web, whatever. I think this exotic is a little underrated. It's just that if you're solo, NEZAREC'S is just kind of better, and if you're in a group, you're maybe using something else. I'm going to drop Winter's Guile in here as well. If I like Wormgod Caress, then I need to throw the same love towards Winter's Guile because their effects are essentially the same. With a 1-2 punch shotgun, things are going to die. You could use Devour, giving you healing on every kill while rocking huge melee damage hits, allowing you to stay in the fray a bit more. It does have the same drawbacks as Wormgod though. It's tougher to use in more threatening activities. Now let's move on to PvP. In PvP, for Voidwalkers, it is really tough to argue against Contraverse Hold after how the past year of PvP has gone. Handheld Supernova has really proven itself to be one of the top 3 pain points in Destiny PvP as of this video, and you might as well make it even better. You're near unkillable while charging your grenade. You'll get a bunch of grenade energy back on a kill. It's a great shotgun counter. It's great in place of a shotgun. Now, if you're not using Middle Tree, then I would probably opt for a subclass neutral exotic, but again, it is hard to argue against using this solely for the grenade spam, even though Nova Warp is nothing close to its glory days. This is the best PvP Warlock exotic in my opinion, and unless something happens to Handheld Supernova, it's probably going to stay that way. For Dawnblades in PvP, again, not much has really changed here since last year, and I'd honestly say that a subclass neutral exotic is going to be better than anything that a subclass specific exotic could offer, unless you want to take Wings of Sacred Dawn for top trees reworked perks. Maybe Prometheum Spur if you wanted to swap to it before you popped your super. For Stormcallers, I want to say Crown again, but Getaway Artist can actually help you win some gunfights here and there. You just need to be vigilant about using your grenade. Crown can pop off if you manage to get a lot of ability kills, but you really got to be on the ball to make that happen. Alright, neutral exotics in PvP, we have a ton of options, but I think there are only 2 that truly stand out at the top. Last tier list, I said that Transversive Steps were really growing on me, and since they haven't really changed, and not much else has changed, well, I'd still enjoy them. The movement speed increase is quite noticeable, allowing you to fly around the map very quickly, while the auto reload function skips having to reload on the go. It's very handy. They're mainly a movement-based exotic though, which I typically don't like to rate, even though I rated them last year. Ophidian Aspects, again, really solid set of bonuses that apply to all weapons to free up any perk slots that you might want to use on something else. The melee range extension is good, but seeing as Warlocks still have a slower melee compared to other classes, you need to use that bonus as a finisher, not to initiate, unless you know you have the upper hand in a fight. If Warlock melee attack speed ever gets adjusted, then this is going to be a little bit better. However, there is already a surplus of reload speed mods and reload speed bonuses on weapons in the game already. Moving to the lower level stuff, KARNSTEIN Armlet's effect is deceptively strong, maybe a little underrated, but you need melee kills, so you need to be aggressive in order to utilize it a lot. In hunting for a clip for this video, I played 4 games and only got 1 melee kill where I didn't actually just trade kills. So for me, they're a little bit on the lower end. It doesn't really matter how good the effect is if you don't proc it. If you can proc it a lot, then it's great. Apotheosis Veil in 6v6 I think is a bit of a waste as long as you're smart about using your super. In high-level competitive play, it is a slightly better option due to the competitive nature of competitive and the focus fire that can happen on you. Also, it's not a terrible idea to just swap to it when you have your super if you aren't using something else. I think the Stag is pretty underrated as an exotic, considering how often you're probably going into critical health, namely in 6v6. It gets you half of your Rift energy back when your shields break, which is pretty nice considering that Rifts are, you know, good. The on-death effect isn't terrible either, although I use the Stag mainly for the Rift energy. Eye of Another World just passively gives you energy along with some target marking, great for people who do not want to think at all, but obviously the benefits are not nearly as strong as other exotics where maybe a little more effort is required. Sanguine Alchemy allows for some wall hack effects in PvP, which are very, very strong, but I think 6v6 is too chaotic to make good on this effect. In 3v3 though, it's a bit more tempting, but with the ability to just bum rush people with Contraverse Hold and win anyway, it's on the back burner for now. Don't sleep on this if other exotics get hit with some nerfs though. This brings us to the rest of it. Aeon Soul. Yep. Starfire protocol has not been changed at all since last time, so I think it just stays where it is. The combo is still Rift, Grenade, Gun, Rift, Grenade, which is interesting from a combo standpoint until you realize that in the time it takes to do all of that, you could probably just shoot your gun a bunch and kill everything. That being said, this might be better in higher level content where things are not getting annihilated in 2 shots. I would understand what you're trying to do, but in lower tier content, no thanks. I might have been too harsh on Vesper of Radius the last time I reviewed it, but that being said, it's still not my favorite and it's still not something I would really consider. The Rift energy regen portion works very well, I'll give it that. And the Shockwave will kill low tier enemies without much hassle while knocking away more threatening enemies. It definitely does the job that it says that it does. My concern is that if you're not really in danger, then using this doesn't really matter. You need to be in a pretty dire situation for this to have maximum effect. If you're a smart player, then you might not even get to use this effect. Wings of Sacred Dawn, we mentioned these earlier when talking about Top Tree. They did get a buff with the rework of Top Tree. You now get 15% damage reduction while in the air, on top of all of the other things that you have gotten. You still only get a brief time to get a weapon hit before you start falling down. Ultimately, I think the choice you make between this and Sunbracers is how much firepower do you want versus how much protection do you want versus how much do you want to be able to move in the air. Heat Rises and Wings of Sacred Dawn sort of give opposite effects. Heat Rises gives you way more maneuverability in the air, while Wings literally locks you in place. I think they just fight against each other too much, and I don't know how interested I am in running Wings of Sacred Dawn with Bottom Tree, since there's basically no synergy there at all. Finally, Chromatic Fire is more of a gimmicky, I want to see massive explosions, exotic. The only time I would use this is if I just want to go crazy with Dragonfly explosion effects. Unfortunately, it's only for kinetic weapons, aka the first weapon slot. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but I'm basically only using this with Ace of Spades for double explosions, and that's probably it. I know people like to meme on Oxygen SR4, but you could probably use that and generate a very similar effect. Warlocks, that is your updated tier list. Much like the Titan, not too many updates. Hunters, you guys are up next. If you enjoyed this video, a positive rating is appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.